Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. Right now it is 11:28 p.m. I am a cult leader of something called Velocity Banking, and I'm trying to hold a séance for all of you cult followers so that we can learn the tenets of Velocity Banking, and they're kind of right here in this picture where it says faster, higher, Traloner. Just kidding. But what are we doing right now? We are going to hold a quick study session right now. Again, it is 11:28 p.m. I'm a little bit sleepy, but for all of you night owls who want to just make sure that we're studying every single day so that we can essentially reach mastery bit by bit, that's what we're here for, right? And so what we're going to do is just do another quick velocity banking study, and all you need is just a simple spreadsheet. It is amazing how so many people are like, I want the spreadsheet. And I'm like, dude, this is just a regular budget. Income, expenses, and leftover savings. If you can just do third grade math, B minus A, right? Or B2 minus B3, that's all you need, right? There's nothing special about the spreadsheet. And I keep saying that, and people are like, I need it. I need it. And I'm like, dude, you will benefit so much if you try it yourself. Okay. So, what is velocity banking? All it is a debt payoff strategy using a line of credit as your main tool. In order to do velocity banking, you only need two things. Number one is a budget, and which we have, but I left out one thing. And this is one of the things that we really need to talk about, which is that we should not overpay for real estate. So as you can see here, we have three credit cards, a car loan, a mortgage, and then our general expenses. So let's go to Zillow to see how much home we can afford. And there are so many people out there who don't understand that just because you qualify for a mortgage doesn't mean that you should buy a home. Because if you ever look at statistics, 90% of millennials in 2024 regret buying a home, right? 90%. So, if I had a factory and 90% of the widgets had defects, I'd be a little bit worried. But hey, in the real estate industry, who cares about that, right? So let's go to Zillow. Zillow Home Affordability Calculator and figure out how much house we can actually afford, right? And so what we got to do is put in our income, our monthly debts, and possibly a down payment, something that's reasonable. But let's take a look right here as what our income is right now, $80,000. Okay, $80,000 is our gross income, 80000, and then what we have to do is just put in the monthly debts, right? So the monthly debts is everything right here, right? So we just copy and paste this and see what the figure is. So 1056.14, so 1056, let's put that in. 1056, okay? And so Zillow says that we can only afford a house up to $200,000, right? What if we do a zero down payment? Interesting. So if we do zero, the loan amount will be 140, but if we do 20,000, then it'll go up. Oh, I see. Okay. But either way, we'll just do a zero down payment, then it's going to be a $150,000 loan, right? $150,000 loan. So let's just put this right here that the mortgage is 150K. Now, again, in many parts of the country, real estate has gone up so much that this number seems way too low nowadays. Isn't it crazy? And we'll say it's a 6%. So we gotta just kind of move around, go to these amortization calculators, and these are our best friends to figure out what's going on with loans. So if it's a 30-year mortgage at 6%, right, then we pay 899.33 a month. 899.33 a month. Okay, so not bad. I mean, $80,000 income. You know what's funny? $80,000 seems like low nowadays. I feel like even $100,000, even though wages haven't been rising compared to like inflation, it just really seems like $80,000 is not that much. I remember when I used to make $20,000 a year, and I was like, man, if I could make 80, that would be so sweet. And then now I make a lot more, right? So, lots of things can happen. Okay, so now we figured out how much we should be able to afford for a mortgage by using Zillow's affordability calculator, but too many people, they really overpay for real estate. Okay, so now let's go ahead and finish this budget, right? And so we assume same income, either more income is great. And then we also, this is really important, have zero savings. This is the part where people are really uncomfortable because we're conditioned by society that we should have 3 to 6 months of savings in our bank account, right? But when we do velocity banking, we're not going to have savings because our line of credit is our new savings account, right? We're going to dump all of our paycheck and make sure that after every single month, there's a big fat zero while we're in debt payoff mode at the statement of our checking or savings account, right? Or both, right? And so now we have our budget. Now we need a line of credit as a main operating account. What is a line of credit? All it is a financial tool where you could borrow money, pay it back, and then use it over and over again. You got credit cards. Everybody has those. That's a line of credit. There's personal lines of credit, home equity lines of credit. I got all of them. And I say this pretty much every single video nowadays where I have over $279,000 in lines of credit. It'll probably be $400,000 in about 2 or 3 months' time, at least because I know the secret of when banks will lend you money. And, don't tell anybody else and don't do anything illegal. But the secret to getting credit is get it when you don't need it because banks don't lend money to people who need it, right? So, yeah. Okay. So let's assume that, hold on, how much debt is this? This is 20. Let's assume that we have a $30,000 personal line of credit available. So you might be thinking, what's the difference between a personal line of credit and a personal credit card? Well, with the personal line of credit, usually they have lower interest rates than the credit card, right? So it might be 15%, whereas credit cards can run from 20 to 30%. The cool thing about the personal line of credit is you can use it to pay anything: credit cards, car loans, mortgages. You just borrow from it. You click a button, the bank's website goes to your checking account, and then you can use it however you wish, right? But just realize that your checking account is not your main operating account. It will be your personal line of credit. Even though we have a mortgage, I'm just going to assume that we can't get something called a home equity line of credit. But a personal line of credit is unsecured, meaning you don't have to provide collateral to the bank or credit union, but you do need good income and you do need good credit, right? Because banks don't lend money to people who need it. Always remember that. That's how I have over 279,000. Again, I can't even remember anymore. How much I have 200 or how I got over $279,000 in lines of credit. Okay? But let's just assume we have 30,000 in a personal line of credit, and then we're going to make this our main operating account. Now, what's the actual strategy? Well, we're going to put this entire 5,000 into our line of credit and then take our expenses out and then rinse and repeat. But we don't have any debt into the line of credit, so now we got to transfer it. So let's do this. Let's take these 3 credit cards. Again, we need to start with the most expensive debt that we have, which is our credit cards, and move into the line of credit, right? So this is 22,000 in debt that we're moving from the credit cards. Again, we're just doing a simple debt transfer, right? And guess what happens when we just move this debt into the personal line of credit? Okay. Well, this is what happens: zero, zero, zero. Oh my goodness. Day one, we increased our cash flow from $1,000 to 1,700 and some change, right? Day one. Now, what are we going to do? We're going to put the entire paycheck, whoopsie, entire paycheck into line of credit, right? This entire 5,000, because it does 2 things. Number one, satisfies the minimum payment. 2, it minimizes the interest. And then we take our expenses out, and then we just rinse and repeat over and over again. Minus 1,700 plus some interest. So let's go ahead and do that, right? So let's go ahead and calculate the next month's balance, which is the previous month's balance plus the previous month's interest, minus this cash flow number, which is 1705.36. And then what we do is, in order to get the interest, we take the average daily balance right here, get the average of these 2 numbers, multiply by that 15% interest rate. See this 15% right here? And then you divide by 12 because that's the annual interest rate. Nobody charges 15 monthly, right? Or I'm not aware of any creditors or credit card issuers or line of credit issuers who charge um, 15% monthly. That'll be crazy. Okay. So let's go ahead and copy and paste these formulas. And then we just copy and paste. And once we get to that red, then it's like kapow, like kind of like Kelly Kapowski from Saved by the Bell. I know I'm outdating myself with these references, but I was always a Kelly fan and not much of a Jesse fan because we all know what Jesse did after graduating Bayside, if you know what I mean. If you don't, then you're good. All right, so now uh, so now we got this covered. So 15 months we paid off our debt. So now it's 15 months to pay off 22K, and we're going to copy and paste this, right? And now what's our next thing that we're going to pay off, right? So do we focus on the car loan or do we focus on the mortgage? Probably going to focus on the car loan, right? So you'll notice that the car loan has a lower interest rate, okay? And this mortgage has a higher interest rate. So some people are thinking, why don't you just pay the mortgage first? And that's because we have this formula called the cash flow index, which is the balance of the loan divided by the monthly payment, okay? So 150,000 divided by 899.33. And the cash flow index is kind of like an indicator or like a ranking system of which debt you want to pay off first. So the lower the number, that's the debt you pay off first. So basically, what does this mean? Would I pay $22,000 to get $400 back, or would I pay $150,000 to get $900 back? I would pay the 22, even though it's a lower interest rate, because it gives me more bang for my buck, right? That's basically what the cash flow index is saying. The position of these numbers, like if it's below 50 or above 50, has some significance. But now but I will skip that for now. Now let's figure out what the current balance of the loan is after 15 months. Again, we just go right here, 22000 at 5 years at 3%. What do they charge for car loans nowadays? I think it's like 6, but we're gonna assume that we got a good deal because I always see like car dealerships and stuff where it's like we offer 0% financing. I was like, give me some of that. That's something that I wanna be a part of, but I might just pay with my line of credit. I don't know. All right, so 15 months. 15 months. What are we paying right here? 16 grand. Okay, 16 grand. So, or I mean, that's the current balance right now is 16 grand. And so, probably the most best way to kind of get rid of this is pay the loan off in chunks. Because anytime we have a lower interest loan with a higher interest line of credit, like 3 to 15%, that's a huge difference. If we put that entire loan into that line of credit, we'll probably pay a couple $100 more interest. In fact, we have a velocity banking calculator to determine how much interest we pay based on how much is moved into that line of credit. So we have this right here by Renatus, and if you don't know, Renatus is an online educational company. And full disclosure, I actually make commissions off of selling their product because I am what's known as independent contracted marketer. And I got to start selling this stuff just because like, you know, it's I wouldn't say it's my job, but I probably need to because I feel like it's benefited me to learn all of this in 2017 and nobody wants to pay. It's kind of sad, right? People are like, I wish I learned this a long time ago. And it's like, okay, I'm going to sell you an info product. And it's like, no thanks, I got to spend money. And then they wonder why they get nowhere. It's kind of crazy. But let's go ahead and input this information. So let me put this in here. So it was originally 22,000. Current balance is 16,805.03, 16,805.03. The interest rate is 3%, 30 years, not 30 years, 5 years, and the payment amount is 395.31. 395.31, and let's hold on to this for now. I just want to show you something. So our expenses is everything except for the loan we're trying to pay off. So it would be these two. So it would be $2,899.33. Two 2899.33 and then 5000. Okay, so let's take a look at this, and let's say we just do $5,000 chunks. How long is it going to take to pay off? 6 years, 0.6 years, right? So we weren't going to pay that much interest anyway on a 3% car loan, but we do save some money, so about $600. Now let's see what happens if we put the entire thing into that line of credit. So that'll be 16,805. So again, we pay $100 more. You see what I'm saying? So that's essentially like the difference between putting the whole car loan into a line of credit versus, doing it in little chunks. Now, because the balance is so low, that's why the difference is it's not that profound compared to a mortgage. But if you want to see how we did this using our spreadsheet, again, you just put this entire thing, okay, into the line of credit. So right here, we put this entire thing here. Kablam, kablamo. Oh, I screwed up because I need to control C copyright. I'm sorry. I am screwing up. So let's copy this. And then now we put this amount into the line of credit, and then we do kablamo, right? And by moving this to the line of credit, how much did our cash flow increase? $395. So now our cash flow is 2100.67, right? So 2100.67. So now we got to modify this, which is 2100.67. Okay. And now we just got to keep going and going like the Energizer Bunny. And as you can see right here, about 23 months to pay it off. So let me just go right here. I think this is more accurate. So this is 15 months. So what's 0.6 in months? Equals 0.6 times 12. That's about 7.2 months. So we'll just estimate, no, 22.2 months. 22.2 months. Is that impossible? 0.2? We'll just say 23 months. 23 months to pay off 44K of debt. And then now we attack the mortgage, right? So there's two ways to do this. One way is we dump the entire thing into a line of credit, which usually is not recommended. I hear on the internet a lot, oh, just dump it into a first lien HELOC or always refinance your first HELOC. And it's like, you're actually going to save less if you do that rather than what we call the chunking method, which is just taking, moving parts of the principal into a line of credit, like in small little chunks from 5 to 10,000, right? Like, so for example, 150 to 140, not the entire thing in a line of credit. And again, this calculator will show you that. So let's go ahead and put this in right here. 150,000. Okay. And then what's the current balance at 23 months? So 150,000 at 30 years at 6%. Okay. And that's 23 months. 23 months. Right here. So 146. 146. All right. 146. All right. So we got that covered. And then now what we got to do is just copy and paste and we're good. Copy, paste. This calculator makes me feel so smart. 6%, 30 years, and then what's the payment? $899.33. Okay. So now let's just reduce our expenses to $2,000 because we don't need to put the $899.33. It's already calculated here. And let's just do a quick comparison. Again, you might have heard on the internet, put your entire mortgage into a first lien HELOC at 9%. Let's go ahead and do that. So as you can see right here, it says $74,000 of interest saved and 6.4 years, right? 74,000. And if you don't believe how smart this thing is, this thing knows when you dump your entire thing into a line of credit. So if you go to this daily right here, let's see if I got it right. So daily tab, let me go all the way up. The system knows, okay, hey, the balance is 146, and then now it's been transferred into a line of credit, and let's see how much interest you pay off. That's how the person who created this, Randall, is pretty much a numbers whiz genius, and he's the instructor of Renatus for Velocity Banking. So as you can see right here, 6.4 years and 82,000. You're like, ooh, that's some good time and some good money saved. But let's say we just did $5,000 chunks. Look at that. It went to 23. What was the previous number? 82 by putting in a first lien HELOC. And then you're saying if I just do small chunks like 5,000, it'll be 23 and I pay it off less. Like I think if I do 10, and then here's a other crazy thing. Let's say I do 30%, like with the credit card, it still comes out better than a first lien HELOC at 9%, right? I really want to emphasize that to you because some people in the internet just hear stuff and then they just believe it and they're like, well, I guess it pays it off faster, but it's not efficiently faster, right? Like there's not enough trade-offs where, you could argue, hey, like, hey, there's a difference in the interest, right? Because if I use a 30% credit card compared to even, a 15%, yeah, I'll pay 3 grand. Now, why would I want to use a credit card? There might be several advantages. So for example, let's say I have only a small credit limit, if I'm paying 5 grand every single whatever onto the mortgage using a service like Plastique, they're going to easily let me increase my credit limit. You know what I'm saying? If I'm responsible. So again, would it be worth it to pay a little bit more with that 30% credit card? It might be. Depends on to you because the best credit decision isn't necessarily the best financial decision. But I do not see a benefit of doing, let's say, a 15% or 9% or whatever it is, right? HELOC, and look at that, never. So let's say a 9% HELOC where I pay more than a 30% credit card if I change what we call that chunk amount, moving, which means that how much you move to the line of credit. All right. Well, let's just let me write down 5000. So 4.8 years. So we're going to write that as our payoff. So equals 23 divided by 12 plus 4.8. Did I do 2.8? My bad. All right. So 6.72 years. And how much are we debt free? So 150. So 194K. Yes, debt free scream. Debt free scream. Okay. So cult members, Velocity Banking cult members, we are going to repeat our mantra of faster, higher, loan, or whatever this means. I'm just kidding. Oh, yeah, I'm just sleepy and tired, but it's okay. It's 11:51. I haven't drinking coffee. I don't drink coffee, but I'm still, I think because I juice a lot, I'm a little bit crazy. Now, let me go back here. Again, this is now going to be zero, and then we're now going to experience rich people problems because every single month we're going to have $3,000 in our pocket, whereas for most Americans, this is an emergency, right? Like they can't even get, or what I mean is that they don't even have emergency funds for $1,000. I can't even say my words straight, so I should probably go to sleep now. Okay, well, that's it for today, everybody. Paying off debt in 6.72 years. Just another day where we pay off all of our debts, including our mortgage, in this itty bitty channel called Korean Atlanta Mentorship. We're going to reach about 3,000 subs soon. I wonder how long it's going to take, but you are all beautiful. Good night. Go to sleep. Dream about paying off debt. And then once you've done that, you have time for everybody. But the sad part is, once you have time for everybody, they'll all be too busy for you. You know what I'm saying? All right. Good night, beautiful people.